You're listening to Jeremy Vaeni's Paratopia vlog, right here on YouTube.
Well, let me just say, this is what's so completely messed up about this field is, you know, I'm getting into it on the UFO magazine forum where I was with, having it wasn't like arguing, but it was a polite argument with Alfred Lemberg, who wrote the follow-up, I guess, piece to my piece.
Right.
Seemed formatted as a follow-up, although I don't consider it a follow-up because, no offense, Alfred, but not qualified to really say anything on the issue. He's not an expert in hypnosis, but his whole thing is don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
There's no bathwater.
Well, right. So arguing with him and this guy Mike Good, who's just completely fucking useless. I mean, let's just be honest here. These are fucking
don't
bloggers.
beat around the bush. Tell us how you really
These
feel.
are bloggers. These are not men of experience. Although he does have experience with hypnosis, but what's telling is in his argument, he said, well, of all the people, essentially, who, I've seen go through the hypnosis training while I was training for hypnosis, I really liked the lay person the most, is what he says. The person without the formal training and anything. And so, but it seems like his argument is that all of the stuff that we're talking about is something that a trained, qualified hypnotherapist would know not to do. They would know how to interrogate somebody, and I guess what? All of these other issues would just go away, but they don't. I mean, it doesn't matter. You need to be trained, like I said, in transference. You need to be trained in a whole host of things that have nothing to do with just how to interrogate somebody. And then, or even just knowing that people are coming to you with a preconceived notion of what this is, and they know what your preconceived notion is, and how that subliminally melds together.
I think Carol's saying that the books are under the arm when you come in.
Right.
Wow, I wonder where those similarities in abduction reports are coming from. I mean, again, the cultural contamination is a big thing. When we started the Experiencer Support Group with a researcher one time, he expressed, Lee and I actually wanted to do this Experiencer Support Group where we get together, not online, in person, and discuss our experiences with each other. And the researcher, trying to get relevant data that might correlate in some kind of pattern, is better off gathered separately. Because to get people together, you contaminate each other. See, that was his thought at the time. And what he didn't realize was that most people in that group did remember things outright, not from regression, not from dreams or anything like that. So nobody was really contaminating anyone. When you're dealing with someone who doesn't remember anything, or remembers a slight snippet of something, goes to a Jacobs, has their books, has the media on television, on the internet, all of these different accounts, because no doubt they've read about it, or they wouldn't know about Jacobs and Hopkins and so on and so forth. The problem is that they do know, they know the scenario, they know the small details, and oddly enough, for the people that remember things outright, there is the very weird, very strange, surrealistic air about these experiences that don't so much come up in regression hypnotherapy. It's the standard walkthrough every time. Look at the consistencies. Yeah, of course there's consistencies. Everybody's reading the same book. Everybody's watching the same television program. Everybody's reading the same accounts on the internet. It's polluted. And so, of course, that's what everyone's going to remember. And to use that as some kind of like, this is the anchor for why regression is still worthy, is because I can't ignore these correlations. These correlations are public knowledge. That's it.
Yeah.
End of story. I mean, even Dr. Lilienfeld said on our show that even outright memory can barely be trusted. Outright memory can barely be trusted. So now we're going to talk about putting somebody in an altered state and then try to get something out of them. That's just absurd to me.
Well, it's true, and you look at witness testimony, and two people describe the same person completely different.
Absolutely.
In a crime scene, and it's
absolutely, and they're awake, and they're asked awake.
Yeah, now go back in time.
Right, exactly. So,
but I'll just, I don't know. I mean, the thing that sort of bothers me about it is that this to me seems like duh material. Like, who doesn't get this? And it seems like you know, people will hold on to an argument to be able to argue a point, to either, I don't know, make themselves feel something better or something, you know, bigger.
I don't even think it's that.
I don't know what it is.
Well, I think a good part of it is that people have built, just like the ETH, people have built a belief system around something, and that's what they get a handle on this with. They're not interested in the exploration of what it could be. They see a disc in the sky, it's extraterrestrial visitors, it's spacemen. You build this entire because let's think about it.
Why would you argue?
Now, let's think about it a second. You get rid of hypnosis, what else do you get rid of? The hybridization program, the alien babies, right? All of these things are big points when it comes to this. These are big bullet points to the alien abduction scenario. And you get rid of you know, the probes and the...
Well, you also get rid of what they think is the only tool. I mean, Mike, again, to keep picking on Mike Good, to his point, in one of his pieces, in one of his back and forth things there with me, was, well, if you get rid of hypnosis, you know, then what do you got? What do you got to explore missing time or these sorts of things with? And I had said, well, you've got meditation. I'd said Jeff and Jacques Vallée both say that if you take a witness, you know, back to the place and just talk to them and have a conversation, that will promote memory, you know, coming back. Just contemplating, perhaps self-hypnosis. You know, I don't know if that's better than having a doctor in your mind, but I don't know. But there are these other ways to do it that are less harmful. And his response is...
There are people who remember outright.
Well, I had said that to... He'd said, the truth is, most people don't remember outright. And I said, the truth is, that's bullshit. I don't know where you're getting that from.
Well, that's sucked out of the
But let's just put that aside. He said that what I had suggested are softball techniques. To which I don't even know how to respond to that, really, because...
What does that mean?
Like, what do you want to do? Nuke somebody? Like,
right.
It's a hardball technique. So nuke their mind with bullshit to get the answer you want.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, that's. I mean, at least for me, and I think that my lovely wife sitting over there on the couch can attest to this. That we've met people who genuinely don't remember things, and I found that you know, if you take them to the spot, and believe me, if you want to talk about a hardball technique is taking someone somewhere where a significant event happened and making them walk you through it, like they're taking the same steps.
Can I just interrupt you for 1 second to say, if you hear snoring and coughing, that's Jeff's dog.
That's the dog.
So go ahead.
Go back to sleep, baby. My dog's got a little cold. And if you take somebody back to that spot, you'll get every bit you know how when they show somebody being regressed, there's all this emotion, there's the crying and the screaming. You know, you'll get every bit of that. If you want that hardball technique, that's it. Where are we going? We're going back to the spot that you told me about, and you're going to walk me through it. No, I'm with you. You're safe. We're okay. You know, and you walk them through it, and it may be difficult for them, but you're there to support them in that. And the more you walk them through it, they do, and it's nothing forced. I mean, I've had plenty of people that have said, I just don't know. From this point, I just don't know. I'm standing here looking at the same piece of ground, and I'm not getting it. Okay, then perhaps at a certain point we've got to go, then it's probably best you don't. Instead of forcing the issue constantly. You must remember. No, you don't have to remember. If you've got half of it, good enough. If that person's not ready to remember that, then you're doing something detrimental to their state. There's been plenty of people that I've met personally that say, I wish I'd never had regression done because of the horrible things they remembered. There's plenty of people who, at least me in an investigative capacity, I've been very friendly with. I have worked with, I have talked with, I've done that thing of walking them through it. They've remembered things. End up hating me for making them remember it. So this is like a really delicate spot for people because you don't want to... people can become completely irrational and paranoid because look what's happened. Now I remember. And it's not pleasant to remember. So if they're not ready, why are you forcing them? Hypnosis is just sliding in any old answer on a punch card, and that's it.
Well, and again, and I think, you know, here's another lesson from the Emma Woods case, which is, for the need of a psychological background, she had some sort of somnambulism where she was getting up and writing things down and walking around at night in her sleep, and doing these sorts of really extreme forms of sleepwalking that if you don't have a background in psychology, you don't know about. And so you go, oh, that's the aliens doing that. We got to get to the bottom of that.
Right. Yeah.
So again, you know, and once she brought that up to her then former therapist, he said, oh, that's a sleep disorder. Like, he knew it right away.
Right.
And of course, Jacobs disagreed and said, oh, that's not what that is. And she went with what Jacobs said because, of course, she was with him to do abduction research, and so he's the foremost authority in the world.
Well, and I've got
so he should know.
You know, at that point is when I've got to say that, and I certainly don't mean to offend Emma with this, but ultimately, I have to wonder, like, what kind of therapist actually recommends somebody with no experience in psychology to a patient that is having this happen. I mean, really, that seems a little sketch to me.
Here's the problem: you're talking about alien abductions, which mainstream people don't deal with, right? So you've got that, and you've got Jacobs, who on his website says, you know, makes it sound as though, and probably is, informing and giving lectures to psychologists on abduction research. So
yeah, that's look. The bottom line is when you're talking about,
I can see it. Is all I'm saying.
Ultimately, I mean, when we had Scott on the program, Dr. Lowenfeld on the program, and he was talking about this, one of the points that I brought up was, why isn't this better regulated? If this is so dangerous and so detrimental, just by the way it's used in our little corner of its uses. And it's used for all sorts of different things. I mean, I had some pretty good success with stop smoking with hypnosis. That's a good tool for that. I'm sure it works for many other things. For regression, it doesn't. And so, ultimately, don't we have to say to the psychological community, you need to get this under control. You need to get this regulated. You need to get laws in place that if someone does this without a license or without proper there's training for this. The problem is that the people doing the training, I know I've read on websites that some of these people doing regressive alien therapy, hypnosis for these, they're teaching this shit. They're charging money for you to sit there and then I'm going to show you how to do this. They don't even know how to do it. I mean, what is that? It's absurd. So why is the medical community going, this is ridiculous. We can't allow this to continue. People are being hurt by this. People are being mentally damaged by this. And so ultimately, we have to make laws that say, you either go through a psychiatric degree, you obtain your doctorate, then you know the appropriate use, and then it's regulated. To me, it is the equivalent of practicing medicine without a license.
Well, what do you say to the people who then say, well, what about John Mack?
This concludes Jeremy Vaeni's Paratopia vlog right here on YouTube.